critiques from a workshop I did a couple weeks ago. Folks submitted their mixes. Now I'm listening. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay, one thing I wonder a little bit on this vocal is if it's possibly just a little too compressed on the top end. It's a hard song to mix, says the guy who recorded it, because the vocal is so dynamic. It goes from being super loud to whispering, and that's just hard. And what you want to do is essentially have your compressor set up to where the quieter parts maybe aren't getting compressed at all. They're just being turned up by the output gain of the compressor. And then the middle volume parts are getting some compression, and the louder parts are getting a lot of compression. You can do it with multiple compressors. A lot of times you can get it done with one if you set it in the right spot to where, so when I'm singing, you are so much more, and it's so quiet, the compressor's probably not compressing at all. But then when I go, fearfully and wonderfully made, like that huge loud thing, it's gonna have to compress or the vocal's gonna be too loud. And I think you've got the compression there on the loud parts, but it feels a little too compressed on those louder parts. So what I would do is probably just leave it and just pull the threshold up a little bit. So just reduce the compression, however you want to do that, just a little bit to where that loudest part isn't quite so slammed. Because a slammed vocal sounds amazing on like rock and roll. But when it comes to like something like this that's very chill, piano bass, and kind of a ballad, I start to feel like maybe all that compression doesn't fit as much. Does that make sense? Okay, let's keep listening. Can't get my phone to not fall over. Durga durga. There we go. It's too loud. Right there. Hey, that works. Can't remember if I said this to you already, but it does feel like your reverb might have a little too much low mid on it, which is going to make the vocal sound muddy. And I've done this all the time where you're mixing a vocal and you think, that vocal sounds muddy. So what do? You reach for an EQ on the vocal track and you pull down some of those muddy frequencies like 120, 150 hertz. And you do that and you listen, it still sounds muddy. And you pull out more, still sounds muddy, pull out more. Well, now it sounds thin and horrible and somehow still sounds muddy. What's happening is you've pulled out the low mids in the vocal track, but the muddiness was actually happening over here in your reverb track. Reverbs have a funny way, I said this in another critique, reverbs have a funny way of sounding muddy even if you don't send muddy material to them, which is why my default template in my mix sessions has, I think it's a high pass filter at 200 hertz on my reverbs so that it rolls off all the low end. So that when I send stuff to it, I don't have to worry about that being muddy, and it works most of the time. When you can't believe. These are critiques for folks who took a workshop of mine. You can email me, you can purchase a critique from me, but these are for workshop folks that mixed one of my songs recently. Listen to your father singing over you the truth. Nice work, Greg. That ending's great. I may take back what I said about the compression on the vocal because at the end it sounded just right. The loud part got squashed a little bit. The quiet part came through nicely. Would possibly say, final thing, maybe there's just a little too much reverb on the vocal. Go back and listen to, I think it was Arne's critique. No, it was Steve's, I think, where there was just enough reverb where the louder notes had some reverb on them, but the quieter notes really didn't. I think that might work better for you. All right, good work, my friend. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm recording critiques of, sorry, I should have waited until I could explain it to you to do the live stream, of a song I mixed, or a song that I produced and did a workshop. And I'm recording critiques of folks who attended the workshop and sent them to me they met the deadline, got it to me by now, and so I'm critiquing their mixes of the same song. So I get to listen to my song over and over, which is actually kind of fun. So that's all I had today. I thought there's a couple tidbits there I thought would be helpful for you and your mixes. But I got to go do more of this. So now I got to figure out how to turn this sucker off. Here we go.